I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Lauren.
And we are The Financial Diet.
And today is a very special holiday episode of TFD because, as some of you are probably aware, in fact, I would guess all of you are probably aware, it's Valentine's Day on Sunday.
Soon.
I was saying on Sunday. We at TFD hate Valentine's Day. We love love, we love romance, we love special gestures for the people we love, but the concept of Valentine's Day as an excuse to spend a lot of money you don't have on things that aren't really worth it is a terrible one. And at least speaking for us, we think pretty much everyone has at least one cringeworthy Valentine's Day story.
So my worst Valentine's Day ever had to have been when my significant other and I lived out in New Jersey, and we decided to go into the city one night for a very expensive, exclusive Valentine's Day dinner at this restaurant with hearts all over the menu and themed dishes, and it was really in retrospect. But it turns out that they didn't get our reservation captured, so we had to just kind of wing it, and we ended up going to this vegetarian vegan restaurant that was nearby, and it was just one of the worst meals ever, but we tried to make the best of it. But it was just a complete waste of money and a huge headache. And
one of my Valentine's Day nightmares was when I went on a first date that happened to be on Valentine's Day with this guy I met on OkCupid, and he brought me a giant bouquet of flowers to the date, which meant that for about 12 hours, I had to carry around this big bouquet of flowers to a museum, and then to a dinner at a nice restaurant, and then to a movie. And by the time I got home, they were disgusting and brown and wilted.
So when it comes to useless Valentine's Day spending, here at TFD, we really think that it comes down to 5 expenses that people tend to really waste money on.
So for us, the 5 biggest Valentine's Day wasters are restaurants, flowers, events, jewelry, and gift cards.
So first off, restaurants. They should be avoided at all costs, especially the ones with the fancy prefix menus where you're guaranteed to be spending more per person. And it's usually that the quality of the food suffers a bit, and the service does as well, because you're guaranteed that, it's going to be crowded and you're just going to be tempted to spend more on a holiday themed night.
Pretty much anyone who's ever worked in the restaurant industry, myself included, knows that there's really 2 nights to avoid restaurants, and that is New Year's and Valentine's Day. You're going to be spending more to get less. So the second one is flowers, and we're talking about the big surprise bouquet, which I know a lot of people, and not to be gendered here, but I think it's usually what can I send this woman to make her feel special on Valentine's Day? And you go onto any sort of flower website that might not be named, and you pick out the bouquet that arrives in the vase with maybe a teddy bear with it. And those are just such huge wastes of money, especially considering that when you look on the lower end of things, they tend to be about $30 to $40 for their entry-level bouquet. And then the more upscale ones are $60 to even $100. And who in the world should be spending that much money on flowers? I think as a rule of thumb, you should say, don't spend more than $25 on something that's going to be dead in 4 days. And anytime you're looking at a bouquet to be delivered, go ahead and see how much that same bouquet would cost in a grocery store or a flower shop. Chances are it's being sold at about a 400% markup.
So as an alternative to fresh flowers, you could pick up something like a bouquet of silk flowers at a store like TJ Maxx or Michael's Craft Store, and you can put those on your table and they'll last forever, essentially, rather than being dead in 4 days. And it doesn't have to just be flowers either. You can pick up any kind of decoration that you want for a house, just something that looks pretty and feels special that you're giving your significant other on Valentine's Day.
The point is just to give something that beautifies their everyday life. And again, that could be flowers, but it could also be something like, a frame, candles, anything that might look beautiful and special.
So 3 would be cheesy couples-themed events that you would normally avoid on any other day other than Valentine's Day. So I've seen crazy overpriced things for couples like dinners in the dark, where you sit there with your significant other and you're both blindfolded, and these choreographed servers come around and feed you. I've seen, couples workout classes that are really expensive, and also Cupid underwear runs. All of those kinds of cheesy events should be avoided at all costs. As an alternative, feel free to partake in just about any other activity that you guys would normally enjoy doing on any other day, but that's not Valentine's Day branded, because once it's branded, you can pretty much assume that the price is going to jack right up.
Number 4 is jewelry. Now, obviously, Valentine's Day is a time when people feel really compelled to go out and spend a lot of money on jewelry that they might not be able to afford at the time, or that they might not be sure about, or whatever it may be. So the thing about jewelry is if you're ready to buy it, great. But if you're not ready to buy it, don't use Valentine's Day as the time to force yourself into buying something that you can't afford. And as a general rule at TFD, we think that if you're going to be investing a lot of money in something like a piece of jewelry, that's really something you should consult your partner about to make sure that they're okay with spending that amount of money on it, and maybe they'd like an input on what it even looks like.
So the 5th thing would be thoughtless gifts like gift cards, which if you're getting your significant other a gift card for Valentine's Day, you clearly have felt just obligated to purchase something, put it in a bag, and hand it to someone.
Probably not even a bag, probably just an envelope, if that.
True. So an alternative alternative to this would just be taking your significant other out for a shopping trip and letting them pick something that you would like to buy them, but in their presence.
That makes it a fun activity for both of you and, as an excuse to spend time together.
So the biggest issue that I personally have with Valentine's Day is not the romantic aspect, because we love romance. It's the fact that everything feels forced and crammed into one day out of the year. For me, things like special dinners out, flowers, gifts, special moments for your significant other, they can be sprinkled throughout the year. They don't have to happen on one night, because then it makes people feel forced to spend more than they normally would.
And plus, I think there's something a lot more thoughtful and special about doing something just sort of at random because you thought of the other person and not because it was like the day. My parents actually call Valentine's Day amateur night for this reason. And keep in mind, any sort of like fun, expensive thing you might want to do at a restaurant or bar is something you can recreate at home, which then adds a built-in activity of making something together. This year, for example, my boyfriend and I planned on just taking this board game that he got for his birthday a couple weeks ago, heading to a really low-key local bar that we like, and just sitting, in a corner and playing a board game all day. Then, maybe come home and cook something together for dinner. It's really more for us about taking advantage of the fact that it's a Sunday than the fact that it's Valentine's Day.
So the point is that Valentine's Day can still be romantic and special without having to come in an expensive pre-wrapped red package.
We like to think of romance as something that you build every day and not something that you buy on February 14th. And as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and to go to thefinancialdiet.com for more. Bye!